Hello guys, welcome back to this new video. I'm going to explain how to calculate the value of equity in the two ways that we talked about on the last video. So using FCFF and FCFE. But we're assuming that the company is at a stable growth right now, and this is how we're going to make our calculation. So when we're doing this, it's very similar to the Gordon growth model. The value of a firm at t equals 0 is always the cash flow that I'll be receiving in the next term, which is FCFF 1 or FCFF 0 into 1 plus g, and that would give us FCFF 1. And now I have to divide this by the R, which is the cost of capital, and we've been calling it WACC, weighted average cost of capital, minus G, which is the growth rate. And then how do I get the value of equity? Value of equity is, as we've said before, the value of the firm minus the market value of debt. Now, if you were to use the FCFE, therefore the value of equity is directly equal to the FCFE I'll be receiving in the next term, which is FCFE 1, divided by R minus G. And here R is not the cost of capital, it's the cost of equity. Now let's take an example about this. We're going to start by doing the first method. And since we need to calculate the value of a firm, which is VF is FCFF1 over WACC minus G, we might as well start by computing the WACC. So we've got the G, and it's 5%. That's the long-term growth, and the FCFF1 is very easy. That's just the current FCFF into 1 plus 5%. Now we need to calculate the WACC, and the WACC is the weighted average cost of capital. So since it's weighted, how much debt do I have? I have 0.25. So that's the weight of the debt, and now I have to multiply that by the cost of debt. By the after-tax cost of debt. So this is 7% into 1 minus 30%, because the tax rate is 30%. And since the weight of debt is 0.25, this leaves the weight of equity to be 0.75. And I have to multiply that by the cost of equity, and the cost of equity is the required return on equity from the investor's perspective. From the first perspective, this is a cost for me as a firm, so it's the same number. I multiply that by 12%, and I'll get a weighted average cost of capital that is equal to 10.23%. This leaves the value of the firm to be $6 million into 1 plus 5%, and this is FCFF1, and we've got to divide this by 10.23%, which we just calculated, minus G, the long-term growth rate, that's 5%, and we'll get a value of $120.5 million. I net the market value of debt from this, which is $30 million. So I net from this $30 million. And this will give me a $90.5 million as the value of equity. But when I value equity, I want to arrive at the share price. So what I do is divide this number by the number of shares outstanding and the number that we'll get. So I'm going to call this term A and this term B. So the price per share is going to be equal to A over B, and this is a $31.21 per share.